Alright, time to revisit Vindicator and create the ultimate farming build by using every single tool at our disposal. We'll have almost every single boon active at all times, even outside of combat, and we'll be able to 1 or 2 shot enemies, speed farm rifts, and even gather faster thanks to having permanent quickness. Before we start off, you're going to need the Jade offensive and defensive protocols. You can easily stack them up to 2 hours in New Kaineng City by teleporting to Guansang Hill, where you can find both protocols and an infinite charging station. Normally, you'd have to engage an enemy to activate both buffs, but Vindicators have a trick up their sleeves. When you activate the Urn of Saint Victor, you get put into a combat state every time the damaging effect ticks. So when you're running from enemy to enemy or to the next gathering node, activate the Urn and drop it once you get close to your target. While the Urn is active, you get 50% extra movement speed, take 50% less incoming damage, and conditions fall off quicker, but you cannot be healed. According to the tooltip, the Urn is supposed to only damage you for 0.25% of your HP, but in actuality, it's ticking for 2.5%. So make sure to drop the Urn from time to time and be aware of the casting time when doing so. Having access to all boons permanently means we can focus on full offensive power. For the traits, this means taking Invocation to deal 10% extra damage as long as our HP is above 75%, and another 10% for simply having Fury active. And Revenants only need 50% critical hit chance from their gear to be crit capped, thanks to the Grandmaster trait, which will effectively double the effects of Fury. We'll combine this with Devastation, which is stacked with damage boosting traits. We'll deal 20% extra damage to enemies whose health is either above 80% or under 50. We'll get more power from Might and deal 0.5% extra damage for every stack of vulnerability on an enemy, of which we'll apply 5 stacks by simply entering combat. To round things off, we get another 5% flat damage boost for simply taking the trait line, which can be increased to 7.5% by dual wielding, but I personally like Greatsword too much. But if you want to squeeze out every ounce of power out of this build, feel free to pick dual swords. Vindicator's dodge can be turned into an absolute nuke by picking Death Drop, which inflicts another 5 stacks of vulnerability, giving us more of that damage boost from the Devastation trait line. Most builds will pick Song of Arboreum for the middle trait, which basically grants you a 3rd dodge and vigor, but since we're getting so little use out of this, we're going with Reverse Curse instead, which will still refund some endurance when using Energy Melt, but also increases both our dodge and Forerunner of Death's damage modifier to 100%. I'm running a combination of Marauder's gear with Dragon Trinkets except for 1 ring, but using a Berserker setup you can take to instance content is more than fine. You'll dodge almost all damage anyway, if enemies even get a chance to attack you, that is. Runes can be Scholar or Dragon Hunter, whichever is cheapest, and we'll take Sigils of Force and Stamina in our weapons. The Stamina Sigil is key, by the way, as this will refill your endurance bar every time you kill an enemy. You might have already noticed an animation appearing above some enemies. That's because I'm running the Relic of Isgaren, which lets me deal another 10% extra damage to any enemy whose attack I've evaded. If you don't have this relic or you don't like using it, using speed for faster movement in combat or Brawler for some extra strike damage works just fine as well. Just be careful with the Relic of the Thief, which is often recommended for instance content, as you will need to use your weapon skills to actually activate the damage bonuses. By this point, you've seen enough of the playstyle to already understand how the build works. Just use the Urn of Saint Victor when you need to refresh boons outside of combat and keep dodging. That's it. Comments and questions down below on Discord, and like, comment and subscribe.